Hot news this Sunday. The Pittsburgh Steelers are revamping some things on their roster, and Omar Khan made an unexpected decision. Some cuts were made, and everything indicates that it is definitive. Man, we can't accept keeping players who won't add much to the season. It's time to mature and not make the same mistakes of the past. I remember when the Steelers signed Russell Wilson. I never really liked him, and today I'm really thankful that he left. Well, I'm going to tell you the news that happened in the last few days. We're going to talk about minicamp and some important points that Omar Khan will have to adjust on the team. I'm going to tell you everything I learned in this video. But first, make sure you've already pressed the like button if you think the Steelers will make it to the playoffs this new season. I'll go further. I declare all the best to the Steelers and may they make it to the Super Bowl. Did I hear an amen? Comment below. Go Steelers. Let's go to the Super Bowl. Now, let's get right to it. Let's talk about potential surprise cuts. And trust me, these are not names you'd expect to see in the bubble. First up, Cordarrelle Patterson. Yes, you heard that right. The veteran kick returner and running back is facing serious questions about his place on the team. Once considered a versatile player, the reality is that Patterson's performance has declined. He didn't make much of an impact last year in the return game and has reportedly added some weight, which hasn't helped his position much. With the Steelers boasting a running back group that includes Jaylen Warren and Caleb Johnson as their top options, in addition to the additions of Kenneth Gainwell and Trey Sermon, the competition is fierce. Ward's recent release opens up a spot, but that still may not be enough to save Patterson, especially when Sermon appears to have the edge in the battle for the fourth running back spot. Moving to the wide receiver room, Scotty Miller is another familiar name potentially facing the chopping block. With injuries last year giving him an opportunity to shine, Miller did step in and contribute. But as things stand now, he's being squeezed out of a loaded receiver group. We're looking at DK Metcalf locking down the number 1 spot, with Calvin Austin 3, Roman Wilson, and Robert Woods rounding out the rotation. Add in Ben Skoranek, valued for his blocking and special teams contributions, and you're already close to capacity. And if the Steelers do pull the trigger and bring in another wideout before week 1, which seems likely, Miller could be on the outside looking in. Names like Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, and Romeo Doubs are being floated around as potential adds. That makes Miller's chances even slimmer. Switching gears to the defense, James Pierre is another veteran whose time might be up. He's logged meaningful snaps for the Steelers in years past, but his release by the Commanders last year and a lackluster performance overall make his return uncertain. Joey Porter Jr. and Darius Slay are locked in as starters. Beanie Bishop Jr. is slotted in at nickel for now. And if the Steelers manage to bring in a big name like Jalen Ramsey, the room gets even more crowded. Don't forget about Corey Trice Jr., Brandon Eccles, and draft pick DJ Kent. There just might not be any space left for Pierre. Then we have Mark Robinson, the hard-hitting but undersized inside linebacker. He's been primarily a special teams contributor, but Malik Harrison was signed this offseason to take over that exact role. And with Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, Cole Holcomb, and rookie Carson Bruner in the mix, Robinson finds himself slipping further down the depth chart. He'll need an impressive camp to keep his spot. And speaking of players who've been teetering on the edge for years, DeMarvin Leal. Steelers fans have been waiting for a breakout, but it hasn't come. Injuries, inconsistent play, and now added weight have raised red flags. The outside linebacker room is strong with TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, and Jack Sawyer. Leal's best chance might be shifting to the interior line, but even there, it's a crowded field. That brings us to the deep and competitive defensive line situation. Isaiah Loudermilk, Dean Lowry, and Logan Lee are all in the thick of it, fighting for maybe 1 or 2 remaining spots. Loudermilk reportedly had a solid offseason, which helps his chances, and the team does like Lowry. But when you consider the influx of talent, Derek Harmon, Daniel Archibong, Yaya Black, the math just doesn't work in everyone's favor. The Steelers will likely keep around 6 to 8 defensive linemen, and with 3 starters pretty much locked in, there are only a handful of spots left for backups and rotational pieces. The bottom line? We could be seeing a real shakeup as the roster trims down to 53. Patterson, Miller, Pierre, Robinson, Leal, Loudermilk, Lowry, and Lee, all names that have worn the black and gold with pride, but could find themselves off the squad by the time week 1 rolls around. So now I want to hear from you. Which of these potential cuts shocks you the most? Do you think Patterson still has a role as a returner? Could Scotty Miller be worth keeping as a depth piece? And who do you want to see added at wide receiver before training camp kicks off? Let me know in the comments. Stay locked in because what happens over the next few weeks could completely reshape the 2025 Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's start by circling back to Cordarrelle Patterson. When he signed, there was cautious optimism he'd add a dynamic edge to the return game and contribute as a veteran presence in the locker room. But in reality, Patterson's impact has been negligible. Last season, his return numbers were pedestrian at best, and in today's NFL, you can't afford to carry a specialist who's not producing. With kickoff rules changing and return yardage becoming less of a factor, the value Patterson brings has sharply declined. Add to that the weight he's reportedly put on this offseason, and you start to wonder what role, if any, he can realistically fill. Patterson is no longer a lock. Trey Sermon is younger, hungrier, and fits the vision this team is building toward. All signs point to the Steelers preferring fresh legs over legacy. Scotty Miller's situation runs parallel in many ways. A year ago, he was a necessary plug-in during injury waves. He got snaps, but didn't really elevate the offense. This offseason, the Steelers made it abundantly clear they're serious about bolstering their receiving core. DK Metcalf's arrival instantly changed the dynamic. He's not just a WR1, he's a tone setter. Calvin Austin III remains the team's gadget speedster, Roman Wilson has raw upside, and Robert Woods offers experience and route precision. Add in Skoronek's special teams value, and the picture becomes painfully clear for Miller. There simply isn't space for a WR6 who doesn't bring elite speed, size, or versatility. His days in Pittsburgh could be numbered, especially if, as heavily rumored, another top-tier wideout is added before week 1. Now, here's where things get even spicier. There's growing chatter linking the Steelers to names like Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen. Imagine that. If the front office pulls the trigger and lands another high-caliber veteran, not only would it crush Miller's chances, but it could also change how targets are distributed this season. We could be looking at a much more vertical, explosive passing game than what we've seen recently, especially with Arthur Smith steering the offensive ship. On defense, James Pierre is on the brink. He's had moments, some solid snaps in years past, but the reality is the Steelers' cornerback room is undergoing a transformation. Joey Porter Jr. has locked down CB1 responsibilities, and the acquisition of Darius Slay has added a much-needed veteran presence. Beanie Bishop Jr. is penciled in at nickel, and if the Steelers do pull the trigger on a deal for Jalen Ramsey, which is more than just smoke at this point, Pierre won't survive the final cut. Add to that the emergence of Corey Trice Jr., the development of Brandon Eccles, and rookie DJ Kent's upside, and it becomes clear there's simply no room for Pierre anymore, no matter his history with the team. Then there's the curious case of Mark Robinson, an undersized but fiery linebacker who has earned respect through grit alone. Robinson finds himself slipping out of relevance. Patrick Queen was a huge acquisition and brings elite athleticism to the middle of the field. Peyton Wilson has flashed potential in OTAs. Cole Holcomb is a steady veteran. Steelers Nation, these aren't just fringe roster moves. These decisions will shape the identity of this team. Do they go younger? Do they stick with vets who have been there? Are they bold enough to part ways with players who were key contributors just a year or two ago? That's what makes this offseason so fascinating and potentially transformative, because it's not just about the 53-man roster. It's about what kind of football team the 2025 Steelers want to be. So hit that subscribe button if you're hungry for more of these deep dive updates. Smash the like if you want to see who survives this roster purge. And don't go anywhere, we've got even more breaking Steelers news coming your way. Stay tuned.